Welcome, everyone.
6:03.
6:03, we're gonna get started with the budget workshop. I'm just gonna review everything that we've reviewed in the past and bring up a couple new things that have occurred. And then we can review that from there. So first thing, updated fund balances. We're still looking great, exactly as predicted. As we discussed, the general fund reserve will get an additional $350,000 next year. So we'll be putting money back into that to bring up that reserve goal. We'll be taking down the road fund goal to help pay for some of the C20 project work. And then otherwise, we're moving along as planned. With that.
What's the projection of the contribution to the reserve fund this year?
This year, we didn't put anything in the reserve.
At the end of this year?
I don't think we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, we're on track right now, to meet budget and probably surpass it, but we don't know for sure where it's gonna end up at this point. Currently, we're $800,000 in the black, but that is not accounting for a lot of costs that are coming in, and I didn't analyze that specifically for the end of the year at this point. We've talked about this several times. We have had some new information regarding this. And that is that the C20 GSAG projects probably don't need to happen. Which is based on Gateway's information, we're probably able to add about $280,000 worth of work to this project. The question comes in with how we're gonna get funded for that. And we're still navigating that conversation with Alcosan. And so we have to figure out, because we already got a grant award for this project, but now we're asking them to add more into it. And so we have to figure out how we're gonna navigate that with them and what makes the most sense. So I don't have concrete information other than to say that we probably don't have to do the C20 GSI projects on Lincoln, Dakota, Montana. In fact, we almost certainly do not have to do that.
And
And
Oregon.
that, okay,
And Oregon.
so
That's
is that because we can do one of the other separations that
Exactly.
we talked about?
We can
last
actually do both of them
time? Okay,
for $285,000. So that adds a significant additional capture.
which then could get us a little more.
Exactly. It
Oh,
depended on, and that's what we're trying to navigate. Even if we don't get any more money, we will
We're
have
still
saved
looking at
significant, we will save probably a couple $100,000.
it.
And we don't have to do physical infrastructure on any one of those streets. What we're trying to get from Alcosan, because we're significantly improving the performance of this project.
Mhm.
But it's all about grant cycles and you know, doing what's fair to other people who've applied for grants
Right.
and whatnot. So we're navigating that with them. But we should be able to get some money back. So we're working on that.
So for that, because I haven't heard of that. Where
We just
were
found
those?
this out a
Okay,
couple days ago.
that's amazing news. So
Yep.
does that mean that the pipe, they can put the bigger pipe without the utilities being
Yes.
Imposed? And that was huge news for us. And that means that all the GSI projects would be gone and it would just be Richmond or Walsh or both.
Correct.
Okay, and it would not interfere, there would not be any GSIs on those roads, it would just be underneath.
Correct.
Okay, that's huge. Can we bring that up in the council
We
meeting
have
too?
it, on
Okay,
that. on the
okay, that
agenda as
would,
well.
that would be
Absolutely.
really, that's great
Yep.
news.
So as soon as we get more information regarding the grant portion of it, we'll let everyone know, but it does look like. And in fact, it's only $285 to do those, to do both of them, Walsh and Richmond.
Oh, for both of them, it's 285, which is lower than
660 was.
60, yeah,
Yeah.
7, I was thinking 7, okay.
Yep. All right.
Great news.
We talked about how we're gonna pay for the C20 separation project several times, so this is basically eliminating the road fund tax for a year to increase the general fund reserve and to also use some of that money to pay for the paving on those projects. Based on that, and we've shown this is the same slide we've shown several times, we're expecting the general fund to be around the same place that it'll end this year on. The general fund reserve will be bumped up. As a matter of fact, this number, I have to add to this, it's actually probably closer to 1275. So that'll go up a little bit. And then the road fund will be dropped down to about 800,000. That's still 600,000 above what we need for a reserve for that fund. Or ideally, so we do have a little bit of money to play with there, when we're looking at, Ewing Road and what to take on there and how to mitigate that issue. Sewer fund, and sewer fund reserve, so the totals will, by end of 2025, we'll have about $4 million in the bank ideally, based on this budget. I mentioned green infrastructure, probably doesn't have to happen, this is 622, I guess, I thought it was 660, but I guess I have it listed as 622.
Is all the engineering work stopping on that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we have to stop all that, so. The bond tracking sheet, and the bond buffer is now at about 314, so that gives us a little more room. And we're putting more money in the reserve fund, so that should be helpful. But I have not updated this is not updated on the website, nor is the budget sheet updated on the website from the information you gave me. In the last couple of days, so we do have to update that. 5-year capital improvement plan, we've talked about this several times. This is all baked into the actual budget. And these are all the draft fund budget amounts for 2025. Although I take that back, I didn't update this either. I did move the bond fund project for this year are actually closer to $13 million. Because we didn't do a lot of we thought we were going to be started on Broadhead already. So I initially baked that into this year, but now we're moving it into next year. So that is likely to change. But then the overall summary is it's a balanced budget, no tax increase, and we're actually able to move. Oh, and I thought I updated this. We're actually moving 355 into the general fund reserve. And completing $600,000 worth of O&M repair projects. For next year, so that we'll be completely caught up, and then we'll be just doing repairs based on what CCTV had done that year. And so with that, I will move to the document and show a few of the things that we updated now. File. Second.
Is Kirsten just arrived. Does she know about the GSI?
No, not yet.
Oh, should we tell her?
Yeah.
Because I know she's involved.
Yeah, we have word from Gateway that we can do the 2 separation projects, the Walsh Street and Richmond Street, for a total of 285, in addition to what the other project, in addition to the C20 project. So for less than half the price of the GSI projects. And it increases the performance of the C20 project. Though we still have to figure out how we can get more money out of Alcoasand for that, since we've already signed an agreement on that other grant. But it's good news from a budgetary perspective, certainly, and there will be no visual infrastructure on any of those streets.
And we don't have to do them both.
What's that?
And we don't have to do them both.
No.
Or is that how the calculations?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, we don't have to do it. In fact,
we can
these
do
are
them.
significantly better. The results are actually significantly better by doing Richmond and Walsh. Now that we know we're able to do those.
And they can do the bigger pipe with the utilities. Remember, that was the issue so that's.
Yep. So. So, going back to this, I made the changes that all the changes are incorporated. When it came, and I did add that the 7,500 for the planning commission, as I said in the email. The only difference was basically after those changes. I took 4,300 or somewhere in that ballpark out of the reserve fund. To make it balance, and so. We're putting slightly less into the reserve fund by a couple $1,000. Make sure it's answered. Oh, yes, thank you.
Will you be sending the updated one to us with also the swimming pool and the
Yes.
sanitation?
Yes,
Okay.
and yeah, and he's talking about the fact that I did have a couple, I had, I forget who I shared it with, I think I shared it with Public Works, and I hid all the other ones, and I had forgotten to unhide a couple. So that they, so that they weren't looking at stuff, but so the sanitation and swimming pool are there now. In the budget sheet. And so that was corrected, so. And what was the other one that you had mentioned? Oh, the senior dinners are out now, so I had them as like $1,000 and $30 of income, so that has been removed. And the music fest was removed as well.
They are still planning on doing a dinner though, like a
Oh, okay.
murder mystery dinner at the library, so they're
Okay,
not focusing on senior dinner anymore, even though it's still gonna be senior focused. But
okay.
they're gonna be more of community. They're doing one to see how it works.
Oh,
And then
okay.
if there's interest, then they may continue throughout the year, so they're still gonna be that budget.
So should we put, well, yeah,
Not the whole thing. Not that it was a lot, but
And
Yeah.
they did away with the music festival, but they're also adding a lot of new community-based things throughout the year too.
yeah. I
So
saw-
their idea was to focus on just a couple large events, but create a lot more smaller events throughout the year, like workshops and things like that.
Okay,
I think it was $1,000 for the income
yeah, it was
on
1,000
the
drinks
senior dinner. The
and 3 for. Well, for the music fest was 5,000.
But are you removing that from their budget altogether? Cause I think they still have plans for it. It's just not for a music festival.
Well, that was good to know. Well, we did take it out, so if we need to return it, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, cause they're still working off the same budget. They're just doing different things next year. At least that was their plan. I didn't realize it was gonna be taken out.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. So should I put it back in then?
I would- Prefer if you did.
Okay. Okay. And then we should put probably 500 in the senior dinner line, just, well, if you're only doing one,
So I'm wondering if we should, so we've got music festival at $5,000, do we just make that more general for activities?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then maybe just drop the senior dinner, so there's, the $5,000 is still there for them to play with. I mean,
Can
I
we
don't
just
mean
move it-
play, but to work with.
like operating expenses or another, maybe it's
maybe I'll put it as, rec, I'll call it,
Just the rec board fund.
yeah, rec board fund.
That's fine. Cause I think maybe some of it might go to,
Activity fund.
yeah,
Yeah,
cause I mean,
that's
like I
what
said,
activity
their,
fund.
their plan was to focus on just 3 or 4 of the big events and then have a lot of smaller ones, but I think that idea was also. To maybe be able to make those big events even bigger than they were. So they were still looking to spend the same amount of money, just reallocate it to different things.
Okay.
So if we keep the full 6, or are we only getting the 5?
It was 5.
But it was also 1,000 for the senior dinners.
No, that was cost.
yeah.
That was a cost. Okay.
Yeah, we had actually already taken out the senior dinners a while ago.
Okay,
I mean, I guess we can put it back in as general for 6, because actually they had, I think 2 or 3 on senior dinners, do I?
Are they hoping that the new format will maybe be budget neutral? Meaning
There-
that-
Maybe, like the first one that they're kicking around right now is a murder mystery dinner for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, they had.
And they're gonna have it,
$3,000.
you know, the thought was to have it at the library, so people who have kids can bring the kids can go upstairs to the kids' room. So mom and dad or, you know, parents can have the dinner party on the main floor while the kids are upstairs, so people who have kids can still go out for Valentine's
Upstairs.
Day. Not upstairs, but the kids
Yeah, no.
section, sorry.
I was gonna
I'm,
say,
I'm
we
missing,
need to
my
change.
apologies. Yeah, they're gonna have them hang out on the roof, it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
That's,
Be okay.
I like that. That's good. Mhm.
So would you want me to I could put 1,000 back in senior dinners.
You can just put it probably all in a general fund would be okay, I don't think it has to be specific.
Okay. Yep.
I would think something like that, that they could recoup all their costs.
Yeah, and they'll also, and they were talking about potentially also still offering like discounts for seniors to still encourage them to come.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's actually really all I have. Unless there's other questions. Do we wanna, is there anything else you wanna discuss or?
The ones that I sent in the email, if anybody had any questions on any of those.
Yeah.
The only thing is seeing the pool and sanitation, so. If you're able to email the group this one, then. The next meeting is the final budget workshop,
That's correct.
and then it would be approved or not at that meeting. Or the other December meeting.
Right. So, the rate cards that are on the agenda for me to talk about, has everybody had a chance to look at them?
You mean the fee
Yeah,
schedule?
the fees, I'm
I have
sorry.
not had a chance to give a good memo on it. We've discussed it. And I
So-
have some updates and recommendations, but I'm gonna have to bring that to the December meeting.
Okay, so I've got it on
Yeah,
my agenda to talk about to say, no, we don't have them.
yeah, we had it on the last one too. Unfortunately, I just didn't have a chance. I went through it today. And there's still a few open questions, so I didn't want to bring it. If there's still open questions. It's generally just, there's a few swimming pool ones, the swimming ones that we want to up. The handicap, handicapped, a fee for putting up handicap sign needs to be increased because it doesn't even cover the cost of the materials. And then the last one was, the last major one was, blanking on what it was now.
Did we review them during this meeting? Because we have a half hour or more now, so we don't have
See what
to.
they are.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
let me go grab the document that I have that has them all on it. We can do
That
that
would be
next week.
great.
Yeah, that would be the three, the millage is, we know about that.
Well, I
It's
can-
the wages and
Just checking.
Yeah.
fees.
I can do that real quick, actually.
Did you get a pad?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't brought it with you yet,
Oh,
so. Well, I'm gonna do that real quick with this, Justin.
I think our process can be, if you send out final, everybody can get a chance to look at it, 2.5 weeks. And then, we'll go through these schedules now too.
All right, let me go grab that. I'll be right back.
Remember this.
Okay.
Finally. I was need a pad to write, because I'm writing on these things. And I only have this tiny little one, so finally. After 3 years now.
Mike had one, you know, I took it one day. and I said, "Oh,
Now you said that, I'm not sure, you gave it back to me, I remember that, I don't know what I did with it. Okay, here it is. Where I thought I would.
Lots of backpack, it's been really heavy,
Yes.
like several years. and stuff.
I need to block a day off of just like going through, just even my 1 year, one of like, there's some things. that need to be Organized or notes that don't make any sense anymore, I just threw away.
John's most organized, just gonna find out.
Yeah.
Just shove those in the backpack. But they're-
They're in there somewhere.
I mean, they're usually in order, because it's always the most recent thing, good from last. But every now and then I take something out and look at it. And I'm just like, "Wow, very nice."
I refer to that a lot, there's a lot. And these are all the committees too, so they're all in there, all the committee meetings and stuff, so. And then last year's agenda set this year's agenda. As there's things on there that you just forget about and that you have to approve or do that kind of meeting.
And it's us, every time.
We're waiting for you.
Yes, that way.
Are you all manifesting the budget?
Exactly.
Good, 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 I'm for it, I like it. What did everybody do?
Wait, again, he has a, we went through this, but he has, he's in, stuff that we can talk about. Yes.
Mhm. Thank you. I never wear it, but it's fall, so why not?
It's also, I printed out the list of trail study. Disciplines.
Yeah. It's right off the table.
Okay.
Sorry. The C20 GSI, we don't have to do it. They can put the bigger pipe in under their student that goes down there and it will actually capture more and it will cost less money. So it's a big win.
Nicole, thanks for being on Morgan Street and fighting about it. Thank you for that. Thanksgiving just got better for you. Isn't it?
Most of these first ones didn't have any recommended changes. Sure. One of the first recommendations I mentioned was the handicap accessible street sign installation. In a document next week or the next meeting, I will bring up, I'll have justifications for these. That's bigger,
Slide it over.
and actually,
So-
let me reshare it too.
Do we know, were there any rules around ADA accessibility and what we have to do? I mean, we're able to just charge those?
Are we allowed to charge for them? For
For
a
the handicap.
handicap accessible sign,
For a sign for in front of your, basically, this is
It's
just
basically-
covering the cost.
But yeah, the cost of the sign, that's fine.
is
Yeah.
that paid by the individual or is it?
Yeah,
is it-
It's there and they make application for the space.
Yeah, they make application for the space and we are allowed to charge them for this?
Yes.
Do we set the fee or is that set by?
Yeah, we set the fee.
It's just to reimburse the boroughs, so.
Yeah, and it's based on, all fees for boroughs have to just cover the cost of what it is to do them. And so we looked at a cost analysis and we are spending like $145 with no cost for
Installation?
installation or any of labor or anything, so.
I guess looking at the costs and knowing that a lot of times people who need those are on really limited incomes. And I have had people complain about this before, about not being able to afford it. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that.
I mean,
We can decide to not have it covered, we're allowed, you can have it free if you wanted it to, that's a borough choice.
It can't be something that we have to do frequently. I mean, it's,
We do it a few times a year,
yeah, it's not,
and then we remove them when they're not, when that person no longer lives there.
that seems like something that is needed. If you want to qualify for it, need it, why do we charge them for that?
So I just going off fee schedule based on the cost, so I'm more than happy to take it out. Or change it, or leave it at 100.
How many did you say we usually get a year? Yes,
What's that?
how many do you think we usually?
It's a guess, I
Yes.
mean, a few a year, probably 3 to 5 a year.
No, it's a-
I feel like we could eat that cost.
Yeah,
Yep, what do you say?
I said, I feel like we could eat that cost. Or find another way to,
I mean, if we think that it's important to have something for procedural sakes, we could set it at $20.
Yeah.
Unless something, if we think there's a reason to not.
I haven't heard, I mean-
Something, but
I haven't heard complaints, but other people maybe have, so yeah, that's,
maybe not complain so much as I wonder how many people haven't done it because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Rather than complaining about it, just not doing it.
well, I think if you make it very inexpensive, people can go to their doctors and say, I want a handicap sign, and the doctor will sign it, so.
yeah, I don't
We
think
need
that
to
we
be
make it
careful.
free,
Yeah,
or
because-
even if you make it $20. Now.
Yeah.
It becomes easier for people,
You get a
know,
reserve.
You don't necessarily need them.
yeah,
Because you could have a broken leg, you could have lots of things and end up getting a spot. I think. It's obviously important for those folks, but we don't want it to be where it's abused because of the cost.
No, I think
Probably have criteria in our ordinance around that, so it has to be more than a temporary condition. My recollection, up and I looked at that recently.
yeah.
This is not necessarily unusual. I've seen communities that ask for reimbursement, which is what it seems like Crafton has done. I've also seen places have sort of a nominal fee, $25, $35, that sort of thing. To basically reimburse the borough for the time to review the application,
Right.
for the sign, review the medical record, and then oftentimes somebody from Public Works will have to go and just make sure that there's a place to place the sign. There could be a scenario where that wouldn't happen, but it's probably very unusual for there not to be an area. Because at a minimum, you can paint. You can paint the curbing.
I know the cost was high for the no parking signs on Foster Street, which were only tiny little signs, and we did them because you also have to run an auger to make the hole.
Not always. That's only in specific situations.
Wouldn't they have to do it on the sidewalks? Or if they had a tree lawn, maybe it's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but, yeah, because then it's the signs and the signs can get quite expensive too.
Yeah.
So,
So do we have a recommendation that we wanna put forth for approval by everybody else?
Say 35.
What's that?
I'd recommend 35.
I would recommend keeping it as it is at this point. If we've had it and it's one of the cost of inflation, I think it's. There is a cost to it.
I don't have a strong feeling on this. So, I truly don't. I mean, if it's been that way and people are still getting them. Okay,
Not hearing anything more. Do you have any, does anybody else wanna weigh in?
I probably lean towards keeping it as is.
Okay,
it's reasonable.
okay. All right. Yes.
It's not button.
Okay. Next one was, now this is a recommendation by Charisma based on the situation. As you all know, we changed these earlier this year or late last year. The recommendation is that we no longer do single-sided ones. A lot of other communities don't do that either. The reason being is, it's a problem when you're taking them down, because now you have two things attached to each other and they cannot be removed, they cannot be separated. And a lot of people want to save them after they've taken them down. And we've tried to give them back where we can, but a lot of times we can't because they're double-sided and both people want them, so we don't give them back in that case. So the recommendation would be to just sell double-sided ones. And slightly increase the replacement banner because they'll all be double-sided as opposed to single-sided, which, and this is essentially cost neutral for the borough, but makes it more efficient for us. But does require that they spend $50 additional in the outset to do both sides. But that's the recommendation for making it, for adding simplicity to this process.
So if it's one-sided, it'll have two different people on one banner. Oops. So it'll be on one banner, okay. I think that's reasonable. We talked at length last year about this. And the banners and replacing them because they're getting kind of worn out and everything, so.
And we've replaced something in the
There's
ballpark
been-
of like 80, I think we're replaced this year, so quite a number.
We have a lot of people purchasing ones too. I've seen that come through.
Any concern?
Cost is increasing about $50.
Well, it's not necessarily, well, it is increasing, but they're getting more for it.
Right.
Yeah, so. But yes, it is increasing the cost of starting. If you don't have one now, it's increasing the cost.
If someone has a single-sided currently and they need to get a replacement, they would get a double-sided replacement for that cost.
And they would get it for $80.
Okay.
So it benefits the
Yeah.
folks that already have it out there,
Yeah.
and it doesn't cost the borough anything additional. So.
I don't want to go down, the process to get one of those, is that just through the borough? Like what?
Yeah, you just, and we're gonna have it on, it'll be up permanent eventually.
Okay.
So it'll be a set form that they can go fill out.
I'm sure we have that, it should be in a newsletter.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah. We should highlight that, yeah.
The shipping and handling cost, does that apply to each of those things up there? Is it all of them?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually don't, I think it's on all of them. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Can we just
I will-
wrap that into the price of the actual banners and just simplify that?
Yep, we could, I'll put a note down there.
Mhm.
Something like being like $8, but it's actually.
Yeah, exactly. The hidden fee.
Go to
Yeah.
the checkout.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other comments on this before we go to the next item?
Oh, I see why it's separate, because shipping is optional.
Right below.
That's why it was separate,
Oh,
because they don't have to have it.
Sorry.
shipped.
gotcha.
That I read, thank you for.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Alright, well, get rid of that. That's only if we're shipping them direct, like the additional stuff directly to their house,
Got it.
the yard and mini banners. Okay. No other comments, I'll move to the next item. This is just some updating in language, as far as reservations and whatnot are concerned. We'll have this reviewed by you, Steve, before we go further with it. This is another one that, we recommended a change, based on Charisma's experience here. This is that she wants to combine these, because often people, when they get these shelters, get them combined anyway. And this allows us to do it more simply in our new system. So it'll just be streamlined and easier. And it means also that, we've had complaints in the past when one person has Hoffman and the other person has Bogus. If they're, if one of the parties is a little more raucous, but, that's the only issues we've had. And then it's just from a keeping it simplified perspective for this one. It does not necessarily raise the rates. Any questions about this one? Okay. Move to the next one. This is a slight raise to the individual season passes, based on information that we had looked at other rates around the area just for adults. But we are, and there's one significant question that I realized I did not put on the agenda for this evening. But we should discuss it at the next meeting, and that is Green Tree has requested to be able to be a non-resident, to sell non-resident passes this year, because their pool is gonna be closed all year. And I said I would put it to council. And so they would like to, essentially, I would guess that we probably wouldn't get that many because of how far it is from their pool. But it would allow those folks that were really, this is an important part of their life, and they would be able to get it at the resident rate. Or, at the non-resident rate, just like everybody else. So they would be paying, the $300 a year or $150 for an individual season pass. But that is an opportunity, and I will have that on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can discuss it, but.
Did they ask other places too? Do you know?
What's that?
Did they ask
They
other
did.
communities too?
I think Scott is allowing them to do it as well.
So they'll probably be like distributed a little bit. It won't
Exactly.
be everybody.
Exactly, and Dormont doesn't have a limit on who, so a lot of folks might go to Dormont,
Okay.
but, yeah.
Stuff say about.
They said it wouldn't be, based on their understanding, they didn't think it would be an issue, just because they assumed that there's probably not gonna be more than 30 or 40 pass holders that will come over.
Anecdotally, it seemed like our pool was not
It's not,
highly used.
what's that?
It seemed like our pool had a lot of time when it was not being very heavily used. So-
Yeah, we go through, I think it goes through here, obviously the weekend afternoon on a beautiful 90-degree day is the day that you're gonna be packed, otherwise. You could probably add folks,
Mhm.
so. So then the other big change is the rental rate, and this was, we've been at several times. It is an incredibly good deal to have a staffed private party for $150.
Yeah.
No other borough does
Staff?
that cheap.
Oh, because they have lifeguards there.
Yeah, you have to pay lifeguards.
I did
So,
not know that's how much you want to do. I would be doing
I
that.
was about to say,
Yeah.
I've been doing that every summer. I didn't.
right, and I
Taking
think it's
myself
probably,
to that pool. I would-
and I think that's probably why it doesn't, like, people just don't know about it. Yeah, so, so we do recommend increasing those rates to be more in line with some other
Your
groups.
kids have a summer break. How often do non-residents book it for a party?
I don't know, I didn't look into that.
I think we could probably increase that a little bit more, because that is, I mean, the rates are incredibly low, we're gonna keep them lower for residents.
Yeah.
Are they the same? Is it 225 and 225?
Yeah,
Oh,
That's the resident.
Like
For nonprofit rental is two,
75 to rent the whole thing for 2 hours with staff.
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably up that a bit,
yep, you wanna up
but I'm
there?
also curious to know how often does that happen?
That's a good, yeah, I don't have that information, but I can get that for the next meeting.
So they would have full use of the bathrooms, the lifeguards, the whole pool.
Concession isn't open.
Right, yeah, but the whole pool
Mhm.
area. And they can bring in their stuff, food and, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good deal.
Mhm.
Everybody, it's like.
Well, you just booked 1, 2.
Yeah,
3.
everybody's in a pool party,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, I'll get more information about how often, especially the non-resident one is used. And then we can go from there.
And I think looking at, have we increased relative to the wage rates of all the lifeguards and everybody else?
Right.
Plus the water, and we're going to have the repairs coming up too, so. We need to look, and we just had the renovations too, so the place was renovated just as we renovate the community center, does that. Offer better amenities, because the old rates were with the old. Oh,
I will do a little more investigation on that and make sure that I have better background. This is why I didn't predict
Okay.
a memo today, because I didn't have a lot of
It's good to
background.
be having
Yeah,
this, so.
yeah, right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
good.
we will be reviewing, this is part of the review and
Yep.
the approval for next time.
And I'll look into the private party and nonprofit rates. So, and then the individual rates for swim lessons have gone up, and this still makes us one of the cheaper ones around.
For sure.
$90 for 8 classes is pretty good rate for swim lessons. It was 40, so I changed it was changed to 60 now. So those are pretty good rates based on what other communities around are doing. And we do quite a few lessons. They do quite a few, so. All right.
I think it'll be helpful to see the budget portion of that too,
Yeah.
the income, which
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
against the budget and everything, which we still need to see.
I think those are the only recommendations at this point. Oh, no, oh, this is just required, the change in the residential solid waste, so that'll be the new number, 329.60 next year. Oh, I do want to this, actually. Just to have a court reporter cost us $1,000 last time. I think this should probably be 1,000 for a zoning. And the zoning hearing board cost us $3,500, I think, and we only initially got a deposit of 500, so. Do you know what they are in what the typical ones in other communities are?
I mean, I've seen them as high as 2,500,
Right,
but again, you gotta balance.
right.
It's a deposit, so it can be returned if you don't use it, but
I'm gonna mark this, because I'm gonna look into
Then
another.
where does it say how much it's actually gonna cost?
well, you don't know until. They have to reimburse you for the legal ad. Attorney fees,
And we have that all in the, right?
yeah, it's in the.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
I'll double check that. We're probably removing as a part of the zoning. This is an arbitrary thing that I don't know any other borough that does this, but we charge a zoning review when you buy a house, even though you're not changing anything related to zoning. And it's random. I don't know any other borough that does this. I don't know, Steve, are you aware of any other borough? Yeah,
Not off the top of my head.
yeah.
Usually those zoning use reviews are commercial or other non-residential uses.
Right, and right now, we're charging this every time a house flips, but there's other fees for that as well. And we're recommending that we actually just remove this. And if we could recoup a little bit more on the actual inspection. If we find that to be, and that was one of the things I was gonna have a better analysis for next time. But I am gonna suggest that these do not apply to new home sales, which is what they've been applying to more than anything else. And it doesn't seem appropriate to me. But. I will have that, I'll have more information on that for the next meeting. The market, so. And I think that. Is it. Yep. All right, I think that was a good review. Thanks for suggesting that. Mayor. Okay,
So I think the action item here is to send the updated yellow budget to everybody.
Yeah.
Also the fee schedule. And then post those on both of them, including the bond sheet and the project sheet to the website.
I'll update all of that.
Mhm.
That won't happen till Monday of next week. Okay, I will do that next week. Okay, with that being said, I guess we get a 10-minute break until.